Hey guys, it's Lexi and welcome back to my channel. I think it's safe to say that calling yourself a reader can mean whatever you want it to mean. There are not specific clear-cut rules. I only started calling myself a reader within the past few years because that's when it became sort of my full-time hobby, but there's no president of the Reader Description Club that tells you whether you can or cannot call yourself that. You don't have to read 50 books in 1 year, you don't have to read 5, it's whatever fits you. But with that being said, there are definitely some tips to help you read more books or become more of an avid reader. And I created a list on my phone, so I just thought I would share those with y'all. So tip number 1 is to find your favorite genre. A way that I recommend doing that is thinking of your favorite TV or movie. If you find yourself really enjoying movies like Divergent and Hunger Games, those are dystopian movies, so you would definitely like dystopian sci-fi type books. If you think you're more of a Twilight person, you're gonna like fiction and romance. If you like 50 Shades of Grey, you're gonna be a spicy romance reader. If you're into things like The Hobbit, Harry Potter, then that would be definitely fantasy. But there's so many different subgenres too, and once you really get into picking up books, you'll kind of find what fits you better. Under the fantasy genre, there's different magical characters in each book, so you kind of just have to find what you're interested in, but going based off of what you enjoy watching will help you narrow down what you will enjoy reading. Tip number 2 is to follow trends. They are there for a reason. Now, by trending, it doesn't have to be what the mass population is trending with. It can be under those subgenres that you're interested in, because some fantasy book may be big time trending, but you don't like those kinds of books, so ignore that. There are lots of apps, there's lots of hashtags on TikTok that you can follow to see what's sort of popular, or even checking out your local bookstore. Don't disregard trends. They are popular because a lot of people enjoy them, so there's a good chance you're going to enjoy them too. Tip number 3 is to find friends or a book club that you can just simply talk to about books. Now, this isn't something that you have to go out and searching. You probably already have a friend or someone that you know who enjoys reading or is getting into it. I think having someone to discuss books with is so much fun. I'm in a couple group chats with my friend and her sister who are all readers, and they've been reading the Fourth Wing series, so my friend and I have been hyping them up and screaming about stuff with them. It's really fun to have people you can talk to about books, people you can get recommendations from. So whether that involves going out onto Facebook and looking for groups or just texting a friend like, oh hey, did you read this? It's simple, but I promise it makes a world of a difference when you have a community of book lovers right next to you. Tip number 3 is do not set a reading goal. If your goal is to read more books and you're sort of just getting into the process of reading, setting a goal is something that can kind of weigh heavy on you and kind of suck the fun out of reading, which is supposed to be enjoyable. I think that was one of my problems when I first got into reading. I set a very simple goal of reading 10 books in a year, which when I look at it now, yes, it would have been very feasible, but at the time it was this huge mountain to climb. So because of that, I was forcing myself to read chapters and I was reading the words but not taking in what I was reading, because at the back of my mind I was like, oh, I need to read 10 books. Disregard that. That can definitely be a goal you set later down the line, but if you just want to be able to pick up more books, setting a guideline, in my opinion, isn't going to do you any good. Now, other people may say to set a guideline. I think it also has to do with the fact that I have very bad ADHD, so I can't stay focused, especially if someone tells me to focus on something, I'm going to not. So I think that's a little more of a personal tip, but there you have it. Tip number 4 is to get an app. There are tons of apps that you can use to keep track of your reading, see books that you want to read in the future. My number 1 is Goodreads. I am on that multiple times a day. Goodreads is so versatile because not only can you keep track of your current reading progress, you can set goals, you can create a shelf, they call it bookshelves, for different ideas. So books that you've read in the past, TBR, books that are going to be read or that you want to read. You get the gist. So besides just keeping track of books that you've already read or want to read, it's also a great way to connect with friends. You can see their reviews, their updates on what they've been reading. It's also a great way to keep up to date on trends or new releases. And on top of all that, Goodreads also has giveaways, so anything that when it comes to a book is going to be on Goodreads. There are discussion groups you can join if you don't have friends in person you want to talk to books about with. You can join them on Goodreads. There are other apps, so if you're not interested in that one or you've already tried it, I'm sure there are others you can look at. However, that's my go-to, so I'm going to talk about it. Or maybe that was number 5. I think I probably did my tips wrong. Okay, this is number 6. It's to shop in person. You never know what's going to speak to you unless you're looking a book in the face. I think shopping online is a powerful tool, and it definitely comes in handy when you don't feel like going out and exploring. However, I found that most of the cards at my TBR rolling cart, which is in that corner, I got spur of the moment while shopping. Sometimes when I go into a bookstore, 9 times out of 10, I don't know what I'm looking for. And Barnes & Noble, or any bookstore really, always has little tables with different trends or topics. There's always like a book talk one or a fantasy new release. I say exploring in person may be the thing that helps you build your shelf. It is for me, and also it's fun to just be surrounded by them. Sometimes, I feel like most of the time I always run into someone that I don't know and we just talk about a book for a solid minute. I'll pick up a book and some girl will say, oh my gosh, that's a good one, or I'll do the same to them. It's a great way to find a sort of small community, and I've never left a bookstore feeling anything but happy and positive and wonderful. Number 7 is to build a comfortable area where you are going to do most of your reading. Now, that doesn't have to be some crazy book nook thing. For me, I have my bookshelves here, and to the right of my camera is a little Papa Sun saucer chair. But honestly, I feel like I do most of my reading on the couch. I have this little corner set up, and I've made it super comfortable with pillows and blankets. And I think having a designated comfortable area to read is what will sort of motivate you to use it more, and yada yada yada. Because I know some people on social media will show you these crazy beautiful libraries, but that's not feasible for all of us. So if you start small and just sort of incorporate things throughout time to really enjoy your space, that's going to make a world of a difference. I did not just magically grow these shelves with these books. It's something I've acquired over a long period of time, and you just sort of have to work with it. But the more you build your space, the more you're going to enjoy using it and the more you're going to read. Tip number 8 is to get a reading journal. I have a reading journal that's specifically to help me keep track of my 100 book challenge, but that's not why I'm using it. I'm not using it to sort of meet these goals. I think my favorite part about it is coloring in the bookshelves. It's in the living room. Do I grab it or do I just insert pictures? If you go on Amazon, there are tons and tons of reading journals. You can even make your own. There are so many videos on YouTube on how to make your own reading journal. I just enjoy coloring in the shelves and writing down my reviews. I think it's a great way to sort of reflect on what you've read. And for me, because I read so many books and my memory isn't the greatest, it's easy to just flip back at what I read 5 months ago and be like, oh yeah, I did not like that, or I did. You get the gist. You can make it whatever you want. I just started a reading journal this year because I think having something to visualize my reading progress is satisfying. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for this whole time. Tip number 9 is to understand that it is okay to DNF. DNF means do not finish, did not finish. That was something I struggled with a lot in the beginning. I would pick up a book, not like it, but for some reason I was like, well, I bought it, so I have to finish it. No, you don't. I think that's the same thing with like food or anything. If you start eating something and you don't like it, why are you gonna force yourself to finish it? Same thing with a book. There are probably a handful of books that I have not finished, but if I did force myself to finish, all of my reading progress would have been pushed back, because the less you enjoy reading something, the slower you're going to read it, and it's kind of gonna discourage you from wanting to read more and continuing that path. So read what you like. Don't force yourself to read something that doesn't interest you. My 10th and final tip is to not compare yourself to other people's journeys. That sounds like something you've probably seen on any inspirational video ever, but it's so true. I think with any social media nowadays, you compare yourself to all sorts of things, and people do that in the book community too. I look at my bookshelves and I'm so proud of what I've put together, and then I'll scroll on TikTok and someone has this amazing library of like 50 million shelves decorated to the nines, and I can't relate. If you compare yourself to other people's reading journeys, you're never gonna feel fully satisfied in what you are doing at the moment. It sounds like something you'd hear off The Bachelor, but the word journey is so true, because there's not a clear-cut path to get to whatever your goal is. At the end of the day, opening a book should be something that you enjoy, something that you're doing for fun because you're passionate about it, not because you're being forced to or you want to meet certain criteria. It should be about you. That's what reading is. It's for the reader. Yeah. I know this was a really short video, but these ideas were really sort of weighing on my mind and I really wanted to share them, especially because I've been in kind of a reading slump this month. I don't know if I'm just not picking up books that are interesting me or if I feel like I'm forcing myself to meet certain goals that aren't feasible at the moment. But at the end of the day, I have no one that I need to impress. I'm not trying to read to meet some new world record. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video so much. Thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and I will see y'all in my next one. Bye guys!